Nope. Wow, 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 wow. Hello, everyone. Sorry for the late start. It was me. I have three guests. They were all here on time. They were all ready to go. And all of a sudden, my internet it just died. So, all the good stuff, reset the router, reboot the computer, all that good stuff. But hey, we're here. We're going. So we're going to dive right into this. Hopefully, have some good pinball discussion. If anybody's watching this after the fact on YouTube, we do this every other Wednesday night, starting 10 Eastern, typically till midnight or a little after. So come join the chat. We try to do our best. So Matt Freeman, how you doing? Good morning, peeps. So he's overseas, and then Dollar Bin Dude. How you doing, buddy? So yeah, thanks everybody in chat. We do our best to read chat, respond to chat. We're trying to have fun here live, but hey, if you're watching this after the fact, thanks for being here. Speaking of live shows, though, I mean, this is the Pinball Network. We do our best to provide pinball content almost on a daily basis. So if we're looking at the calendar here we are on Wednesday with Flipping Out. The Flipping Out stream. Thursday, tomorrow will be Chuck Wirt, followed by George. Don't Panic Flip. Check them out. Saturday, sometime on the weekend, Jedi usually goes. And then back up at the top, Jordan and Becca on Sundays with Hub Challenge. Monday night is Hadi, which is Frisco Pinball. And then Tuesdays is the Pinballers. That would be Mike, Lisa, and Carter. So definitely check them out. They do Tasty Tuesdays. Last night they did some flaming hot food. So Conti, Michael, how you doing, guys? Thanks for being here. But yes, we do what we do because we enjoy creating content, but we also have some amazing sponsors that support us. So we'll roll through these real quick. Comet Pinball for all your pinball LED needs. Hit them up. Ryan and his crew are fantastic people. Measle Mods makes some amazing mods for almost every modern game and some of the older ones too. Check them out. See if you can add some bling and other cool stuff into your games. Scorebit, Jay and his team are really great people. They made an amazing product that can go in literally any pinball machine and bring or connect your game to the internet. They come standard in all JJP games. Stern Pinball, they make some great pinball machines. I know the four of us all own Stern games and we're going to talk about them tonight, as well as eagerly awaiting their next release. Speaker Light Kit, you're going to see them behind me. Doug and his light kits are amazing. I'll tell you right now, if you buy one, you're going to end up buying others. Pinball Photos, took some amazing photos that you can get some really cool art and other stuff to hang on in your pinball room. And then Zach and Nicole Flipping Out. I personally have to thank them. They let me stream for them. They let me borrow games. They live close. They are amazing people, very kind. But also, if you're looking to buy anything new or used, reach out to Zach and Nicole Flipping Out, as well as accessories. Zach just opened the Pinball Vault, so maybe we'll look at that tonight. And last but not least, Victor with Pinmonk. Makes some really cool accessories. The silent fans, I highly suggest you get those and put those in all your modern Sterns. The flipper fan kits, if you play long games, definitely awesome. And then some of the gel and other inserts that they do. So really appreciate the sponsors, as well as I thoroughly appreciate these three gentlemen that are here tonight to talk pinball. So we're going to go around the circle here. Matt, been watching you boys, Travis and Tom, in the tourney. Travis seems to be doing, he sucks, but whatever.
Twitch chat is not showing up here on the overlay.
It isn't.
No.
Oh, that's
I can see it in the chat on my device, but it's not showing up in the.
George. That's a George thing, not a. Let's see what magic he can work there. Way to be on tonight, George. So I'm gonna give him a second to do that. Yeah, that's interesting, because that's all compiled together with Restream. So we're pulling everything we can together at one time. So let me mute that. So I'm gonna try to juggle my best until we figure that out. I see that. Yeah, gaming. Oh yeah. So we got some people in here. Okay, we're gonna do what we can, but yeah, let's just do some quick introductions while George magically fixes that, or not. He may not. I don't know, but that's we'll see. So, Mike, basically, who you are, what do you do with TPN, and what was the last game of pinball you played?
Well, I'm Mike from the Pinballers, as Joel mentioned at the top of the show, I guess, of the stream. We stream on TPN on Tuesdays, and then on our own channel on Mondays and Fridays. Yes, we did do Flamin' Hot yesterday, and it's continued into today as well. But the last game I played was Space Station. I have all these newer games, but Space Station, it's a good game to just throw a quick 5-minute game on here and there. I'm also um, starting to really like the classics. I guess you could call it a classic. But the System 11 specifically, I'm really liking those. Like, I mean, I like Taxi, but
Yeah, yeah.
I was at a tournament in Mississauga on the weekend, and they had a classics match play, and they had a bunch of System 11s and all classics and stuff. And I'm really starting to enjoy the you don't need to know so much about the rules. There's typically one thing you got to do.
Yeah.
It's like you need more consistency on those games because you're just doing the one thing over and over again. And that's one thing I really feel like I need to work on. So yeah, I'm just sort of practicing on some older games and enjoying the space station.
Yeah, it keeps you focused. And I know
Yeah.
I was watching the replay of your stream from last night. So Mando's on its way out, and you have
Mando's
a
on its
new
way out.
game coming in.
We
So
do,
I'm
yeah.
I'm excited for you.
Yeah,
So
yeah. We'll probably just keep that a secret until Tuesday. Maybe we'll do that on TPN. It's not a new Stern or anything like that.
yeah.
It's an older game, but it's a game we've wanted for a while, and I know Lisa and Carter really like the game, so we're looking forward to picking that up.
Okay. I just saw I don't know, George is working magic, I think.
Yeah, that was me trying to work some magic.
Okay, let's see what's going on there. Uh-oh. Oh no. Nope. I saw it. Okay, so nope, still.
Yep, it was.
It was a blip. It was a blip. All right, we're gonna let George keep working magic. If not, we'll do our best we can. Hadi, how you doing, buddy? What is it that you do with TPN? And I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Everything is great tonight. Everybody's here. Everybody looks great. We're having zero technical difficulties. This is a seamless. Yeah, we're doing great. We're doing great. All right, Hadi. Yes, what is it that you do at TPN? And what was the last game of pinball you played?
Hi, I am Frisco Pinball, otherwise known as Hadi. I played Avengers Infinity Quest this past Monday. I stream on Monday nights at 10 p.m. Central, 11 Eastern. We were trying to get a couple more gems. I'm slowly starting to figure out the game, even though I've had it for a year now. But it's been a lot of fun. I still have to do some updates on that new home team from Stern. And other than that, we played some virtual pinball last night. Some new physics were added to a virtual pinball emulator, probably the oldest one, Future Pinball, or one of the oldest ones. But yeah, I've got a nice small set of pins here, and try to rotate them on Mondays on TPN. We've got Godzilla, Avengers Infinity Quest, and Sword of Rage. And hopefully we'll have the new Stern if it's Venom. And if not, we'll see what we can add to the list. Hopefully Stranger Things soon.
I hope it's Venom just for you. Like truly because of you. Yes. So
thank you.
Well, thank you.
I
Hadi.
hope it's Aussie.
I know. That's what I think is what's funny is Mike, you were like, dude, if it's an Aussie pin, I'm in. While I know Hadi wants Venom. So, in a perfect world, let's go Venom pin with some Aussie music and everybody's happy.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
George, not trying to put you to work, man, but if you show up, George is our TPN streaming guru. He is kind of the elder that we all look to, not in age, but in wisdom for our streaming expertise, and happens to do all the behind the scenes to try to get TPN to work well. So I don't know, man. I see you. Any luck? Have you seen any? No luck.
No, I turned off the Twitch stream thinking it just needed a reset. And I have to work with, if it's a permissions issue, I'm gonna have to work with some other people on TPN in order to recreate the connection with between Restream and Twitch. It's streaming just fine, obviously, to Twitch, but we're not getting the chat back, and there's not a lot of options there. So I think we are maybe just hosed with Twitch, getting Twitch chat embedded, unless it decides to pop back at some point.
All right.
Yeah,
well,
I can see if you use a separate device or whatever, you can see the Twitch chat on Twitch, and then check the stream for the YouTube and other stuff.
So I have it open. So I will do. So anybody that's in chat on Twitch, we will do our best to read the messages. We're all we're gonna do our best. We're gonna do our best tonight and get this going. But YouTube apparently is getting all the love. So the few people that are watching on YouTube, we can see you guys loud and clear. So awesome. But yes, George, who are you? What do you do for TPN? And what was the last game of pinball that you played?
Great. My name is George. I stream normally on the channel Don't Panic Flip on Mondays and Tuesdays, really late at night. And let's see, what do I do for TPN? Honestly, at least recently, it doesn't feel like a ton, especially not being able to recover chat over here. But
yeah, you had one job, George. Come on, man.
yeah. Try to help out, honestly, as much as possible. And yeah, that's honestly, that's kind of what it feels like, especially on the streaming side. And then last game of pinball I played was Godzilla with MPT3K, Bumper Nugget, and had Dance Panda over here on Thursday or Tuesday night.
Dance Panda, what a name. Game in Rulin, is GNR gone? Yes, GNR's gone. If you notice, Toy Story right there has replaced it. So, well, George, it's gonna magically work. I can tell you're here. Your presence is gonna make this stream go better. I can just feel it. But yeah, so and then I am Joel. I do this every Wednesday night. I stream for Flippin' Out, and then I stream every other Thursday on the Flippin' Out channel, and I do the Triple Drain podcast as well. Last game of pinball I played was actually TNA. I had some weird stuff going on with the lights, so I fixed those and played a game, and still love it, man. Still love it. That song, you'd think that song would get old. It doesn't. It legit doesn't ever get old. And I know George has a TNA, so he knows what I'm saying. Or yeah.
That is the only game I have never muted. I think to play something else on. That music is always awesome. It's
so good. So, all right. Well, we're gonna dive right in. So we have a few things to talk about. We actually have kind of it's not a this or that, but is Manu going to creep in over your shoulder, George? I wish that would be so perfect, but yeah, you're not with Manu right now, so I understand.
Yep.
We have a few different topics to talk about tonight. One, we want to talk about Stern's future releases, as well as they're halting a bunch of games. So maybe we'll just dive right into that. So here we go. So last call on Stern's Turtles. So I don't know what you guys think about this, but if you notice, they're saying this is the last call for Turtles. And it's also, they've mentioned months ago that it was going to be the last call for Guardians of the Galaxy here. And then Led Zeppelin, we've heard about that. And then they're saying maybe Star Wars. I've seen conflicting reports on this one. So I don't know, your initial responses when you see that, like there's a lot of games here. Maybe I'll pull that up. I don't know. Anybody?
Stranger Things too, isn't it? Isn't Stranger Things also set to?
I think Stranger Things is already done. It was already.
It is already done. Okay, I thought it was okay.
So if we look here, so if we look at games, what I love is the games and then affordable home edition. So apparently their normal games are not affordable. All right, so Rush, brand new. They're not going to stop that. Insanity Falls, Lane, how you doing, buddy? Godzilla, I mean, they can't make enough, right? So those make sense. Mando, though, they're still, pumping those out. But then here we go. So Led Zeppelin, final run of Led Zeppelin. Avengers apparently is still good. Turtles, final run. Elvira, they haven't made Elvira in a while, right? So they haven't said they're done, but yeah, they haven't made them in a while. Jurassic Park, still cranking them out. Another Elwin. Deadpool, they haven't announced a final run, but this is an old game, but yet they keep selling them. I mean, they're selling them left and right. Iron Maiden, another Keith game. Keep going to cranking them out. And then these last two, Guardians, apparently final run. Star Wars, final run. So what I'm hearing is all Elwin games, 1, 2, 3, 4, all 4 of Elwin's games, they're still cranking out. But yet everything else they're kind of stopping. I mean, I don't know. I mean, does that I don't know, surprise you guys, worry you guys in any way, excite you guys in any way?
I heard Stern Pinball's name was actually going to be changing to Elwin Pinball.
Maybe, man. November, December run of Elvira. Okay, T-Mech, how you doing, buddy? So Elvira's not dead, but I mean, I know Turtles, there's a lot of love-hate, right? I like turtles. George likes turtles. Mike, I don't think so. I don't think you and Carter love it.
I
But
haven't played enough of it, actually. I haven't played enough of Turtles to really form an opinion on it.
okay.
I do want to get more time on it, but I'm actually surprised to hear that they're stopping the run on it, and I'm more surprised at how fast they have announced it. Like these other ones, they announced a couple months ago, right? Like they announced Led Zeppelin and Guardians 2 or 3 months ago, right? So that was giving people who still wanted the game a little time to, put in their pre-order or whatever. But TMNT was just announced this week, right? And then
Yeah.
it's next month.
Next
Apparently,
month
it's
is
going to be
run.
done. So it's like a really quick decision. So that confuses me. So I don't understand why the quick decision on that one. But maybe they're just pivoting, right? Maybe they're pivoting and getting ready for their new release, or maybe they're just going to run the shit out of all the Elwyn games or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Could be that they're also trying to create sales right now by listing a number of them as last chance offers, especially as they're coming into the end of the year with a potential recession upcoming. Might be a great way to kind of generate a bunch of cash just before things go negative.
I mean, maybe, but at the same time, like Stern has at least right now, Stern is having no problem selling the games that they're building, right? I mean, like, I think they could build nothing but Godzilla for the next 3 months and probably still sell every one of them. But I get, there is I get the pushing for like, I don't know. I don't know from an operational standpoint though, like how many turtle vans they have just sitting there, and they're like, all right, do we want to order another box of these vans, or should we just say last call? Like, or how much? Because I feel like there were probably more kind of the just-in-time manufacturing prior, but then COVID kind of, I think, really killed that model for a lot of people. Where now it's like, if you need something, you got to order it in advance. So, but that actually said something. Like, if Turtles is going on the line in a few weeks, you would assume they have all the parts ready, right? Like, I don't think manufacturers could probably turn around custom ramps in 3 weeks for turtle orders. Or I don't know. I don't know if Chad or Hadi, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think I think they're probably looking at the total number of sales of obviously the Pro and the Premium for Turtles, then looking at the licensing deal. Do they want to extend it? How much is
Yeah.
it going to cost them? Is the licensor going to actually extend it to them? Plus, you've got a supply of parts that you have in the warehouse. So your supply chain is drastically improved, and now you've got licensing and parts. Is that offsetting, or are you going negative or whatever it is versus your total sales of the pin? It's not lighting the world on fire, but I'm sure they're making sales here and there to their distros. And so now you're weighing licensing and parts versus actual sales. Or they probably just doing this last run because, like you said, they might have a box of turtle vans. And for each pin that they're going to do last call, they probably got a set number of parts ready to go out the door. And they really don't want to order another batch if they're not really getting a steady supply of orders from customers or distributors. So why
Sure.
not pivot to they have a ton of Godzilla parts. They have a ton of Rush parts because they're brand new. Mando as well. And the ones that are selling probably are the Elwins at this point because
Yeah.
of the reputation and the recent good reputation for quality pins and fun pins. So not that the others aren't, but
Yeah.
it's what is hot right now.
If you're gonna build a collection, just going with every Elwyn game is not a it's not a terrible
I know
choice.
I know people that just got into pinball, and as soon as they play Godzilla, they're looking for the premium,
Yeah.
or the pro. So I have a strong feeling it's a combination of all that, and just it makes sense for Stern to start looking to their next two cornerstones whenever they get released and continuing.
Well, on top of that too, there are people that just go to Pinside, right? And they're like, okay, it's time to get a pinball machine, and they go to Pinside. And when you look at the top 10 games, I think almost every Elwyn game is in the top 20, right? And so they're like, well, shoot, I can order some of these now. Might as well go with that. Now, I do know Turtles, though, during COVID, there was a time where that people actually had Turtles in stock. Like, I think Zach actually had a Turtles premium in stock or for a while. So I don't think Turtles has as quite the demand. And then I also know there was a time where he had like Led Zeppelins in stock. So that doesn't surprise me. Guardians, I mean, I think it's just time. Like Guardians came out when? Like
Yeah, Guardian 16, I
2016?
think. Yeah, Guardians has been out for a while, so I'm not surprised that that one
Yeah.
and Star Wars actually is probably another one that's a surprise. The only thing that surprised me about Star Wars is that was another one of those games, kind of like Turtles, where there was like a love-hate, but
Yeah.
I think the Star Wars theme resonates better with people, so that's why it stuck around for so long. Um, but Guardians, yeah, I was actually surprised at how long that run went. My Guardians specifically too. I mean, I just got that in a run from last year.
Oh,
So
wow. Okay.
they've been making those pretty consistently over the last number of years. So it'd be interesting to find out if Stern would ever release their production numbers to find out
Yeah.
how many
Yeah.
of these games they've actually made.
Yeah, good point. So chat here, Kirk Hobbs, eventually old pins have to fall off. Exactly. I mean, I agree with you, old pins, but like Turtles, I don't feel is an old pin. And then a lot of Turtles, drink lime, nice. A lot of Turtles on location are set up harder than they should be. Turtles, there's no doubt, Turtles is a harder game. Like the layout is a harder game. And so I do think the theme is a kid-friendly theme, but the layout is not a kid-friendly layout. And so there is a disconnect there where on location, I think people are going to lose their ball early or quickly. And so I just don't see it as, personally, I assume Turtles doesn't do hot on location because of its difficulty. But I think once people get it in their house, you either fall in love with it or you don't. You're either like, this pin's too hard and I hate it, or I hate the scoring and you boot it, or George, what are your thoughts? You have one.
It was probably about a year ago. I feel like there was chat about Stern moving to Spike 3. And having worked with materials planning before and done my own, worked with a company with custom boards, I know that there's this weird situation that can happen where you might use a particular component on a board and you find out that that component has been discontinued and you buy up all of the components that exist all over the world. You might manufacture the board yourself or be responsible, but that doesn't mean you're responsible for every component. So your materials planner, you have to work with to plan out years in advance and make sure that you're building node boards at the particular revision as efficiently as possible before you go through and do a board redesign. And then when you do a board redesign, it requires updating all of your QA processes to do different testing and trace testing and making sure that all the components work as expected as just part of like standard board stuff. And if enough components change, or if the component change or the board is different enough, you have to go back through regulatory testing. So I wonder how much of this is eventually some maybe sort of preparation or the winding down of Spike 2 and towards the Spike 3. And what we're seeing is a bunch of these games kind of stopping manufacturing and they focus on the games that are selling well. And building boards and games and with the knowledge that they're beginning Spike 3 or whatever they want to generate, whatever name they end up giving that new board set with all new components that are updated and completely refreshed.
Oh, yeah, good. That's a good point. Louis, so Facebook chat works. Louis here. How you doing, buddy? And then, Lane says Spike 2 isn't a fully custom board set. It's based on proto board, like Arduino, but bigger. So, I mean, there's still something custom about it. But I see what you're saying, George. But it is interesting. I mean, when you look at this, it's just like literally every Elwyn game is still being created. So well done for that guy.
Well, I mean,
like,
Zeppelin is the newest game to be dropped, right? Like that's the newest release game.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can understand
it's
why.
It's not a surprise, right?
Yeah, it's not a surprise. And you know what? I'm all for it because I have a Led Zeppelin, and I'm telling you right now, all you people who have been crapping on it, who have never played it, will eventually play it and say, actually, this game is pretty good. The rules and everything are good. Yeah. And it's going to be just like Black Knight Sword of Rage. Black Knight Sword of Rage is starting to get a little bit of love now.
Not from your wife or son. They freaking hate it.
but I am seeing more on on the pinball, the Facebook site, all these that there's
Yeah.
a little bit more love coming for that game, and it's going to happen with Led Zeppelin, and I have them both, and you guys are not going to be able to get them. So,
Well, hey, I'm curious if Turtles, whenever Turtles is done, like that, Turtles has enough of a following that maybe down the road there will be people that get into pinball 2-3
Yeah.
years down the road, and now all of a sudden Turtles has a little more value. I don't know.
I think so. I think all these games, Guardians, Star Wars, all the games
Guardians
that are
sure
being
does, yeah.
discontinued are going to be more sought after, and that's the way I see the market going now. Is because Stern is now ramping up and are putting out more games. So the games that people want are going to be the games they can't have, right? You always
Yeah.
want what you can't have, so those games are going to be more sought after, and it's just the nature of things, right?
Yeah, Louis got a good point. Munsters. I feel like Munsters, when they're available, people couldn't give them away. And then now they actually sell pretty well. Like they sell pretty well because people that want a Munsters, they want a Munsters. So I don't it doesn't bother me. I think all these games have been out long enough that if you're in the hobby, you probably already know whether or not you want it or not, or you've had a chance to play it. It's not like, oh crap, that's off the line and I never had a chance to go out and touch the machine. But I would say if you're interested, get your orders in. But you're right. I think after these are finally off the line, there may be a newfound appreciation for some of these games. Lane in chat had earlier said the Jurassic Park home pin they haven't said anything about that. I have heard, it's interesting. I've heard some really interesting things about home pins, but I know some distributors hate them. They can't sell them. But other distributors literally can't keep them in stock. And I think it really comes down to your marketing and what kind of clientele you're reaching out to. I don't think the home pins sell well at all to pinball people. So if your main marketing is Facebook and pinball groups and pinball people, if you focus on that, you probably struggle to sell your home pins. But if you're a distributor where your main marketing, you don't market to pinball people at all, and you're just like, an easily Googleable distributor or something, or focus more on rec rooms, that's a great, it's a lot easier to justify somebody getting a pinball machine for under $5,000 than it is now with the Stern Pro being what, like 7+? I mean, it's crazy. Yeah. But I don't know. So, true. No one was buying Munsters Black and White, which is an amazing game, but now it's impossible. Exactly. That's what I mean, even like George, you had a Black Knight and you bought the topper. Like the topper, I don't think when you bought the topper, it was hard to find, right? Like you could just,
Nope.
Yeah, you just bought it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now that topper is like
Almost worth as much as the
it's
game.
insane. It's insane. So, speaking of that, any last thoughts on this before I transition into anything else?
Really quick, is Munsters just not even on that display?
Oh, Munsters! They stopped selling Munsters
It's
a long
gone,
time.
yeah.
So it's
Black Knight
here in
as
the
well.
it's here in the archive. So Stranger Things is gone.
Yeah.
Star Wars Comic Edition is
Oh,
gone, which
okay.
makes zero sense. That is
Is that comic
absolutely-
edition or is
that's
that
the comic
home?
edition?
Okay.
The comic edition is in my opinion, maybe I'm wrong, but by far the better art package.
Oh,
and
yeah.
yet
So much better.
I don't know. Maybe Randy Muniz or whatever, the guy that wrote, not Muniz, Martinez, the guy that drew everything. Maybe his cost was too much. I don't know. But Black Knight is sort of right. Yeah. So here's all the retired. So no more Beatles. I mean, Batman's done. These are all done. The only way that any of these would ever come back is a Vault edition. But yeah, I think I think Turtles got screwed by Insider and they won't admit it. It's the reason the layer is 50-50 drain and the scoring is so low and leveled up your What do you mean it's screwed by? Like the layer shot is hard, but what do you mean it was screwed by Insider?
Like Insider connected?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'd rather play and own a Star Wars home pin than a commercial. Yeah, I've heard the Star Wars home pin's a great time. My only complaint with the home pin is the lockdown bar. The lockdown bar is literally a metal bent bar, but then the end caps are plastic and there's a seam right there. And like, that's where you put your hands. And so to me, I don't want the game to feel cheap, and that's exactly what I'm actually feeling on the game. Like, could they have splurged the extra $20 and given me a better lockdown bar? It would have improved.
I've
the
never played a
entire-
home version, so I've never seen.
Yeah.
They're smaller too, right? Like they've got a smaller profile.
They
They
are
don't
s-
stand the same height as a pro or like
They
as
are
any of the
slightly
normal
smaller.
streams, right?
They are slightly smaller. David, evening boys, what's going on here? So everybody that's just tuning in, I'm really sorry, but the chat, Twitch chat is not restreaming onto the stream. So we're kind of double dipping here to try to figure this out. But so we're trying our best to follow Twitch chat as well as everything else. But I was going to talk about overpriced toppers. This is nothing against one of our sponsors, but our sponsor Flippin' Out just released this, which is the Flippin' Out Vault. And I appreciate Zach for doing this. Let me do this real quick while I log in. As I've already, I don't know, not doxed myself, but here we go. So, all right.
You share your screen, you should hit Control H. Like, no, my God, don't actually do it, please.
Okay. Your chat audio has been cutting in and out. Well, that sucks. Hopefully, I don't know. Has anybody else heard that? Dan Zig. The goal tonight, yeah, the goal tonight is just to make everything as hard as possible. Because we started late with my network crapping out. Chat's not working. Hey, we're working through it. We're doing the best we
Streams
can.
in competition mode.
All right, so Zach at Flippin' Out, he just opened this, which is the Pinball Vault, the Flippin' Out Vault, and I don't blame him for doing it. But if you look here, this is basically stuff that Zach has like, I don't know if he was keeping it for himself or what. But right now, if you want to buy a Godzilla LE brand new in box, you could do it for $21,000. So Zach has one. Zach has one in stock. He also has the Indiana Jones, the Gold Leaf Edition in stock for $3,000. The Star Wars topper, apparently totally hard to find, sold out everywhere, $3,500. Beatles topper, $2,500. And then this is what's crazy. He just opened this today. And this was a 2XL limited edition Batman jacket. This came, if you bought the Super LE edition of Batman 66 when it came out, it came with a jacket. This jacket he sold for $400. He sold it today. So good on Zach. And then a brand new. So he's going to keep adding stuff. So, hey, if you want a Stern Pro Stranger Things, there you go. $9,000. He'll sell it to you. As well as the UV kit for an additional $700. I don't know. People will buy it if people really want it. Here it is. So check back regularly. New items added regularly.
It's
so
stuff he
cool.
finds underneath pinball machines, right? He's like,
Yeah.
oh shit, look at that. There's a Iron Maiden or an Iron Man Vault game here.
Yeah. Oh, let's
Person that
throw this
he
up.
found the one person that needed that jacket. That was kind of amazing.
I mean,
'cause-
2XL too. Yeah.
yeah, that's a tough find. Sometimes.
Yeah. Wombat Pinball. TMNT gets a bad rap because of the scoring system and its brutality. Not being able to move the outlane post in to help with the difficulty curve for some definitely played a big part in its negativity. I wouldn't move the post myself regardless, but it's a kid's theme and it's beyond hard, fun shooter. I agree with you. I personally, if I had the option to move that left outlane down one hole, if there was a hole, I would have probably done it at this point. But I get it. It's marketed to, I know George disagrees. George is a better player than me. George is a much better player than me. But that's just me. And then what is, I wonder if some people hold pinball distributors with, yeah, Kirk Hobbs. It's tough, right? I mean, but the reality is there are plenty of people that bought toppers with no intention of using them just to hold on to them so that they could try to sell them at a higher cost later. So do I blame a distributor for doing that? I don't blame him for doing, like, I don't blame Zach for doing that because that is actually the market value of those machines now. But if when he bought his initial order, if he immediately marked them up $1,000 or something, like that's where, I don't know. I don't like that as a buyer. There are people that shop around between distributors trying to find the best price. Like I think it's more important to find a distributor that you trust or have a good relationship with. That is more important to me. And so that's what I value, but I don't know. We'll see. If you make the layer shots designed to drain your ball, it's not designed to drain your ball, but luckily there is a setting, and I'm curious, George, if you did it. Whoa, there is a layer shot ball save. So when it drops the plastic to let the ball out, at that moment you can turn on like a 1 or 2 second ball save just in case it goes out the left out lane, because that's not designed for that. Yeah.
It's not just in case. It's like 75% of the time. I haven't looked at it, but for whatever reason, it comes down, hits the Borg left middle thing, and jumps right back. And it happens so often. Yeah, I absolutely enabled it, which is interesting, by the way, because I haven't checked it recently because I haven't made it to Final Battle, but in Final Battle, that's disabled.
Really?
Single multi-ball. So it didn't work well in Final Battle. Which
so you got screwed on that, is what I'm hearing.
I did.
Oh, yes. Bummer. That's a suck. Yeah, I cursed Borg's name more times than I could. That's what's funny is Borg. Like, I cursed Borg, but yet at the same time, Toy Story, that it has the same thing. The two like it has the 2 in lanes and the 1 out lane, and it can hit that post. And like, it's funny. I mean, that's a Pat Lawler game, Toy Story. But if that ball does that and goes out, I'm yelling Borg. I'm yelling Borg. Like he gets cursed for that.
Well, on Rush, the Borg out lane on the left is actually on the right. It's got the double lanes on the right side, and it does not feel as drainy as all the other left out lane drains. The right side doesn't feel too bad. It feels pretty, normal-ish.
Agreed.
So something about the left lane. I don't know. Maybe they embed a magnet or something in the wood or something, pull the ball out.
Okay. All right. Well, good to know. Well, what we're going to do, I know it's a little early for this, but we're going to go ahead and do the video, because right after the video, we actually have a really good segment, and this is why I'm excited that the 4 of us are all here tonight. Just let me go ahead and share this. So just a few weeks ago, we actually did this game. We played this game. See, here's the deal. As soon as Pinmonk shows up, he knows, here comes the video. This is how it works. So, all right. Vinny Blanc scored a Godzilla Premium. Dude, no way.
Amazon.
That's awesome. Good for you, man. I'm jealous. I'm still waiting on mine. We played this game a few weeks ago, and what's funny is I think we played it. George wasn't on it originally, but I think we then... Did we have you play this, or we just had you do your 5? That's what it was. Sell your collection. What 5 would you get back? Wasn't that what we did with you? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
This one we did, and the idea was we listed 5 of the more popular designers ever, and we listed out all their games. And so the deal was pick 1 game from each designer for your collection. That was the game. Now, what I love about this was I had an idea in my head what I wanted. What I assumed people would get, and no, I was blown away. I was blown away. For one example, so Pat Lawler, right? You think of Pat Lawler games, you think of some of the amazing games out there. What does Hadi pick? Frisco Pinball? He picks Whirlwind. So, didn't see that coming. Fast forward here. George Gomez. I'm thinking George Gomez has made some amazing games. I'm thinking a lot of people are going to pick Lord of the Rings. What does Hadi, Frisco Pinball, pick? NBA Fast Break. So I really was quite... Oh, another perfect example. Pat Lawler, once again. What's Mike there with Pinballers going to pick? Ripley's. Who would have guessed Ripley's out of all the Pat Lawler games? That's what he picked. So I'm really excited to do this tonight, but we're not doing this... We're not actually going to do this with game designers. We're going to do this with game coders. So this should be a good time. I'm going to work a little bit on the formatting here while we can. So go ahead and start thinking this through. You can think about this during the video. Well, actually, just really pay attention to our sponsors. That's what we should be doing during the video. But yeah, we're going to have a good time tonight. So we're going to go with these 5 designers. So Lyman Sheets, Dwight Sullivan, Lonnie Ropp, who, just a heads up, did a freaking ton of games. I had no idea he did so many games. Keith Johnson, and then Larry DeMar. So those are going to be the games that we're going to talk through tonight. It's the same concept. Here are the 5 coders. Which game from each coder do you want to pick? So go ahead, chat, be thinking about those, but let's go ahead and knock this video out before we start this here.
Your pinball machine deserves the best. At Comet Pinball, you'll find the best variety of LED products with the best quality LEDs, and most importantly, at the best price. Your collection is begging for an upgrade. Order yours now at cometpinball.com.
Scorbit is excited to announce Achievements, the latest in an amazing series of features available to thousands of connected pinball machines around the world. Achievements are part of Scorbit's free open platform. Scorbit already supports hundreds of pinball machines from the 1970s to today. Give your games new life by connecting them to the Scorbit platform and the universe of applications for pinball machines.
All right. We are back. Thank you for everybody that's still here. Appreciate you guys sticking through the sponsor video. We are really grateful for our sponsors. I know you just saw them, but these 8 people: Comet Pinball, Measle Mod, Scorebit, Stern Pinball, Speaker Light Kit, Pinball Photos, Zach and Nicole flipping out, and Victor, who's in chat, hopefully still with Pinmonk. So we really appreciate these 8 people supporting us and the content we create. So thanks a bunch for them. And once again, we are here on the Pinball Network. So here's our calendar. Every Sunday is Jordan and Becca, Hadi with Frisco Pinball, who is one of the people talking tonight, Mike with Pinballers, his wife and his son Carter, so Lisa and Carter, awesome people. Tasty Tuesdays, so he's also on chat tonight. Here we are flipping out on Wednesday. Chuck Wirt was straight down the middle, and then George from Panaflip also on tonight, and then Jedi McMuffin over the weekend. So yes, here we go. We are going to jump right into this. Hopefully you guys can read that. But here's the thought. So once again, chat, we're doing the best we can with the Twitch chat. So if you guys have any thoughts there, we're definitely reading them. But yeah, we're going to do the best we can. Oh, Zach's here. Zach Flipping Out's here. They were watching Elvis. Hopefully that movie was good. We did a Vault review. We did nothing about Vault. It was great. Yeah, we didn't talk about the Vault at all. All right, so we're going to work our way through. Now, this is dumb. I probably should just rearrange it, but I personally want to start on the right. We're gonna start with the shortest list here. Is that okay with everybody? Just because this is a challenge, and please, chat, feel free to correct me. But this is what's kind of crazy, right? Like, if you go on Pinside, and I'll just go ahead and do this with you, but it's kind of hard to find what games are what designer, and what I mean by that is Simpsons Pinball Party. Anybody that's been in this hobby knows that Simpsons Pinball Party is a Keith Johnson game. Everybody talks about this being Keith Johnson. But look right here, software. Apparently the software is Dwight Sullivan and Keith Johnson. So I think there are a few games that I have multiple designers in the same list. So if anybody wants to argue that, I'm not even going to put up a fight. So, if there's a game that somebody says, well, I'm going to pick Simpsons Pinball Party for Dwight. If chat's going to go, no, you can't do that. That's not a Dwight game. Then fine. Please correct us. It especially becomes more apparent down here in the bottom. Like Last Action Hero is on, I think more. Yeah. Like Last Action Hero is both Lyman and Lonnie Ropp. So I don't know, just thoughts there, but yeah, we'll see. Freeze up to, yeah, there we go. Okay. So let's work our way through this. We're going to start with Larry DeMar. So I'm going to go ahead and list these off because there are some people that listen to this like while they're walking their dogs. So Larry DeMar, apparently he did Jackpot, Addams Family, World Cup Soccer, Twilight Zone, Funhouse, Bonsai Run, High Speed, Space Shuttle, Black Knight, Jungle Lord, and Scorpion. So that's the shortest list. There's some good games in this list. So we'll work our way through here. So Mike, you get to go first. What are your thoughts when working your way through this list?
Well, I've owned probably half of the games that are on that list, and currently own Jackpot. Just got rid of World Cup Soccer. I'm picking Twilight Zone on this list all day, though.
Okay.
That is such a good game. That is one game that I have sold that I do miss. I miss our Twilight Zone and would definitely get one back if I had the chance. But I got to give honorable mention to like World Cup Soccer and Jackpot, which we've had for a few years as well. But if I'm picking one game from Larry in my collection, it is definitely Twilight Zone.
So maybe here's an interesting question, and I don't know this because Zach's gonna play this. Well, what are the rules? Are we picking the game? And are we picking the game based on this is the game I want in my collection, or are we picking the game based on we're saying this is the best coded game? Because the best coded game may not actually be the game you want in your collection. Do you guys have a preference? Are we like what went through your head, George? It seems like you have a thought there.
I think I'd like to see us choose code in this case.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was an interesting distinction because I actually have 3 answers to each one of these, depending on what your intention was.
Okay.
But I think code makes it kind of interesting because you may not actually like playing the game at all, but you can appreciate the code being unique or slightly different.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm still going with. I'm going with Twilight Zone on all 3 of your categories. It's to me, Twilight Zone is it's got tons of modes, tons of multi-balls. There's just a ton of stuff to do. Getting to the wizard mode, it can be quite challenging by, look, if you just look at the door in the middle of the play field, there are so many modes that you have to do just to get there. And then you have the multi-balls and the power ball. Like, it's just, to me, it's far and above the better coded game on that list.
Interesting. Well, this will be interesting because I know we may disagree. Like between the 4 of us, what one person considers really enjoyable code to them may not be for somebody else. But let's see what happens here. So we'll just work our way across the screen here. So George, you said you have 3 answers per one here. So I'm curious just talk your way through it. That's the whole goal here.
So and initially, my gut was telling me Bonsai Run, and it's a game that I absolutely love, and it has the vertical aspect to it, which I don't think code-wise was likely difficult to work with. I imagine that's more mechanical than it is code, so I crossed that off.
Okay.
Also, it's the game that I most want in-house, but at the same time, I never want to have to deal with a problem on Bonsai Run.
Yeah.
What that looks like, and that's disgusting. There's so much going on there. And then kind of my number 2 is tied Twilight Zone and World Cup Soccer. I love both of those games. And out of everything on this list, I want Twilight Zone in my house, but it's because it's iconic. It's because it's like in every movie that involves pinball, Twilight Zone is there, and it's just a gorgeous game. There's so much going on, but outside of the Powerball, is there anything really significant coding wise going on in that game? And I kind of think about World Cup Soccer in the same way. Like that goalie in World Cup Soccer is the best goalie in existence. I don't know why. I can never score on World Cup Soccer, and I find that frustrating, but there's nothing really unique. So I kind of go to Jackpot, and that's my answer, because
I didn't expect that.
Jackpot,
Great game. I'm looking at it right here.
Jackpot has a gambling aspect to it, which I don't it's an easy to get to wizard mode. It's something that you can loop through many times. I don't actually know if I've been there more than once in a game, but I've gotten there pretty easily multiple times. And it's a push your luck kind of a situation.
Yeah.
And I like that. I love what that adds to the game. And only when comparing it to the other games by Larry DeMar and trying to think about code, I'm like, I think I got to go with Jackpot.
Interesting. Zach, yes, the chat is not working on screen because George sucks at his job and can't,
That's exactly.
No, something's going on with Restream. It'll restream Facebook comments and YouTube comments, but it's not restreaming chat or Twitch. So we're doing our best. So we're trying to acknowledge it as much as possible. Jackpot, very interesting. There are some people that really love Jackpot. So good. Thanks for talking your way through that. That was really good. Hadi, what are your thoughts, man? I'm curious what you're thinking.
I kind of took George's approach, and I was like, well, coding for the sake of coding, which one has sort of the best logic, which one makes the most sense, and I end up at Twilight Zone.
Okay.
Coding for fun, I'm thinking World Cup Soccer, because it's a blast. Every shot sort of sets off a show for you, and the code reflects that it's trying to keep you playing by saying, look how good you're doing. You're at 1 billion points. The fireworks are going off. The ball is spinning. All that is, code based. And I think if you're talking code for fun, it's World Cup Soccer. But for me, I do code for simplicity and what makes the most sense. And
Jungle
I think
Lord.
I'm going Black Knight.
Oh,
I think I've gone Black Knight because I love the simplistic ideal of having the code tell you, look at this. You've got 2 shots to lock, and if you lock one on the bottom and hit this shot, you'll get a 2-ball multi-ball. And then if you hit the top upper play field, you've got your chance for a 3-ball multi-ball. And while you're in that 3-ball multi-ball, you have your X amount of scoring, and you're looking to hit these the left lane, the left orbit, left ramp, or try to get it up the center right, and that's affecting your scoring. And I think the math portion of that really, even though I went to law school because I hate math, the math portion of that speaks to me a lot, which is sort of a preview for Lyman. And I think I'm going to go simplistic code on this list. I think this is an amazing list of titles and pins. Shout out to Larry DeMar, because I didn't know he did all of these.
Yeah.
But I'm going Black Knight.
Yeah, interesting. Squalito, how you doing, buddy? Zach here. Oh, my pick would be none of those. Zach, go ahead. Let's hear it. It's going to be, I don't. Zach's probably going to go Adams Family World Cup Soccer. That would be my guess. And the reason I say that is I'm struggling. I to be 100% honest, I was just looking. I went into this tonight thinking, well, which pin do I want? I was looking at the pin as a whole, and I wasn't. I probably, like, this was Mike's idea. I shared it with the group, and apparently I didn't think about it enough, because I don't know. I think originally my answer was going to be Adams Family. And I know Adams Family. A lot of people that own Adams Family say, like, if you're a decent player, you can tour the mansion pretty easily. The game kind of gets old. But I will tell you, like, we've had a few Adams Families at some of the bars that we go to with friends and family, and they freaking love it. Like, they love that game. There's something iconic about that game that draws them in. And I don't know the code well enough to know how well it communicates what a novice should do. But one thing I can say, I think my answer is World Cup Soccer. And the reason I'm going with World Cup Soccer is I think from a code standpoint, I want code that keeps good players entertained, but also keeps novice players entertained. And I think World Cup Soccer does an exceptional job of communicating what to do. Even though most of the time it's shoot the goal or like go to the next, like it does, I don't know. It does a really good job of keeping people entertained, and I don't know. I maybe I don't have a good way to back it up, but I really enjoyed World Cup Soccer. I had a World Cup Soccer. It is a game I miss. And maybe I'll overthink it. And because if I'm going to, like, I kind of put Addams Family and Twilight Zone in similar categories of being this iconic pin. And if I have to pick between the two, I do think the code in Twilight Zone is better. So maybe the right answer here is Twilight Zone, but I think I'm going to go World Cup Soccer. We're just going to have to, I'm telling myself I'm just going to have to be okay with that. So
there's no right or wrong answer, right? I mean, we're all picking based on our opinion of the game. I mean, if I'm picking a game on this list that I want, it's Funhouse. Funhouse out of this game is just the game that I would pick, that I would own. But I think Twilight Zone to me has the best code. But I mean, that's just my opinion, and I do it based on just the amount of things that are in the game with the modes and whatnot. World Cup Soccer doesn't have as many, but it's like you said, it's a great game for both, seasoned players and newcomers. So, I mean, I think they're good.
So chat wise, I see David here. He said, and this is Ben, how would you say it? BENKE. I'm going to say that wrong. So David B, he's basically saying his first picks would be Addams Family. So he would have gone Addams Family, and then his second pick would have been Jackpot. So I think we're all in the same world here. But at the same, literally everybody mentioned a positive thing about every single one of these games except for Jungle Lord, Scorpion, and Space Shuttle. I mean, but yet, Mike, you own a space shuttle, right? I mean,
I do.
Yeah. So so well done, Larry DeMar. Well done, Larry DeMar. Can you post the Excel spreadsheets of designers and coders, like, to everybody? Is that what you're saying, or it's on screen?
I'm imagining he wants to. He'd like access to the spreadsheet.
Oh, just
so,
share it with the world. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be interesting. All of a sudden, just start seeing a bunch of mouse choices. Yeah.
This game sucks.
Yeah. No, these are some good games. So where do we go from here? We'll work our way. I don't know. Lyman's going to be the hardest one, man. That's what I'm avoiding. We're just going to be dumb and go right to left. So here we go. Keith Johnson. Mike, you went first last time. So George, how about you go first on this one? Oh, let me read them first. Keith Johnson. So Keith Johnson, basically all the JJP games. So Toy Story 4, Guns N' Roses, Wizard of Oz, Pirates of the Caribbean, Hobbit. Then we had Lord of the Rings, CSI, Wheel of Fortune, Family Guy, World Poker Tour, Elvis, Simpsons Pinball Party, NFL, Austin Powers, High Roller Casino, Sharky Shootout, Striker Extreme, Playboy, and Revenge from Mars. So like Revenge from Mars, I know is on more than one person's game. I know Revenge from Mars is on Lyman, Dwight, and Johnson. So I don't know. When I think of Keith Johnson games, it's pretty much everything Simpsons Pinball Party and above. But hey, if Hadi wants to come in here and tell us Striker Extreme is the answer, I'm going to let him say it. So
you know it.
So George, go for it, man. What do we have?
Okay, so Lord of the Rings has a ridiculous amount of depth. I've had it in-house for a while. It's one of those fun ones where if you feel like putting a couple quarters in and want to spend 45 minutes playing a game and feel really disappointed that you got nowhere close to the end, that's the one. So there's a lot going on, and there's actually some really decent moments. I feel like a lot of that, honestly, is the call outs and just the crazy enjoyable graphics though on the screen. And I want to also say that, like, out of all of the designers, Johnson is my least favorite because he has a tendency to program for concurrency in rules. So as opposed to progression, like do this, then do this, then do this. I feel like his focus is almost always
everything.
Like
stack
everything. It all together. Try and bring it together. And I have found, especially through playing a lot of Pirates of the Caribbean with Ty, that I'm not a fan. It's not my style of playing. Like I'm good maybe trying to do one or two, but to try and bring in 7 consecutive modes and make it all happen, I think that does it for a lot of people. It's not my thing. And Lord of the Rings falls into that in some ways. Pirates of the Caribbean, I just said a minute ago, was kind of a struggle. I have a game that I am most upset with that I got rid of. which is Family Guy, and it's on my list of games I really, really want to get back in house.
Really?
Enjoy the layout. I think the rule set on it actually follows TMNT pretty well. Like there's all these little things you have to do to get to the end.
Oh.
And I got rid of it. I actually sold it well before I actually got the game. It was great because I made multiple trades happen, and I drove around Colorado, Wyoming, and Kentucky. And so I ended up with it in-house for just 2 weeks, and that wasn't long enough. And I love Family Guy, the show. So the theme does something there. But I think it's the game I probably played least on the list, as long as you don't go before World. Like I haven't spent time on World Poker Tour and pretty much everything else below. I know Simpsons should get a good call out, but I hate the Sim. I just
Okay.
hate's a strong word, but I got to go Hobbit.
Okay.
To quote Zach, I got to go Moment Maker. And I can't stand playing the game, but there's no question that that Hobbit is all about progression and building those big giant moments. So for me and my style of play, I think it hits it, despite the fact that I never play it because I can't stand it.
Interesting. What, and why can't you stand it?
It's Lord of the Rings, but even a worse layout, like a less fun layout.
Yeah.
It's boring. There's so much to the rule set that I think compensates for a really simple and irritating playfield. It's got the worst case of sloppy JJP flippers.
Yeah. Hobbit's third flipper in chat literally just showed up. That's perfect timing. Hobbit's third flipper. It's the best chat username out there. So sorry to interrupt, George, but that was just perfect timing.
No, it was perfect.
Yeah,
that was great. Yeah.
Synchronicity.
That was awesome.
You know what? I'm going to cut in line. And the reason I'm going to cut in line is I agree with you, George. I actually think I'm going to pick Hobbit on this list. And so I made the comment earlier of Keith Johnson, he did all the JJP games. I hadn't even noticed, but Dialed In is not on this. And no, Dialed In is a Joe Katz game. So apparently his name is not associated with Dialed In, which is interesting. But to me, initially, when I was playing this, I was like, okay, I am kind of maybe I'm becoming like an LCD snob, but it's just, there's something about, and maybe it's because I have small kids. My kids have zero interest watching pinball when there's a DMD on screen. They definitely have zero interest watching pinball when there's score reel. They don't care. So I'm kind of become an LCD snob, and I think you're going to see a lot of my picks are in the upper half of this category. But when I look at that, then it's kind of like, well, Simpsons, I've had Simpsons. The depth is really good. But my thing with Simpsons was, like George, you were saying, it was so much stacking that there were a bunch of modes that I found myself never playing. Like I just never, the idea of getting to the super duper wizard mode. Yeah, right. That's totally outside of my skill zone. So what I focused on almost entirely was Alien Invasion. And at that point, you're just playing 7 modes. You're just playing 7 modes over and over again. And then you might fall into one of his other modes along the way. But man, so I was between Hobbits and Toy Story. But now if we're going to play which has a better code, I'm going to go Hobbit all day long. Like Hobbit all day long. I will say, though, Toy Story 4, I'm having a lot of fun with the game. It's literally the only game that my daughter is excited for me to play. So, like, Toy Story 4 has been a big hit here in this household. But I will say I've had a Hobbit, and I truly miss Hobbit. So I agree with you, George. The code and the moments in Hobbit are exceptional. Like, exceptional. So I'm with you, George. I'm going to go Hobbit. So Hadi, Squalito, where is Godzilla? Godzilla, we're only doing these 5 designers or coders, and yeah. So what is it? Rick Nagel is the designer, right, for Godzilla. So he's not one of them.
Godzilla, was it Sega?
Oh, I have no idea. I don't know. Maybe it is on here. I got to scroll way down. I don't know who did that. But maybe I missed one. So, hey, if I happen to missed one that one of you guys wants to pick, feel free to correct me. Hadi, you are up. I'm not going to interrupt you again. Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So the first pin I wanted to own when I entered this hobby was Revenge from Mars. And it was the technological advancement that I saw when I first played it as a teenager or whatever. Seeing that sort of CRT holographic effect like Time Traveler in the arcade from Sega. That just seemed like a lot of fun code to me to call back to what I did on the last column. But I think if I'm going to pick in this category, I've played Hobbit. It felt like, I don't know. I didn't have a lot of time. I played it at Expo.
Felt
I did as
slow.
much as I could. It felt like I was watching the movie the whole
Yeah.
time, and I've never
Yeah.
seen the movie. So I don't know enough about it. It looked packed and loaded with as many things you could think about as far as toys, mechs, shots to make. But I mean, you might as well say my middle name is Jenga because I love stacking. So I think I'm picking between Lord of the Rings, sort of, and Simpsons here, with the real big shout out to World Poker Tour. If you ever get a chance, please play World Poker Tour because that is a fun pin. If you know anything about gambling, blackjack, poker, or excuse me, poker, it'll speak to you. But I think I'm gonna go Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
I think there is so much to I think there's so much within the actual game to reward you code wise if you can just stay alive long enough and get to destroying the ring. Yes. Are you going to get to there and back again? Maybe not. Or Valinor, excuse me.
Valinor, yeah.
Yeah, you're not really going to see a lot of people getting to that unless they remove the glass. But code wise, everything about it works to me. The shots work as far as the left Path of the Dead, which is a really cool sort of Plinko style game, and controlled by the flippers, so it's a nice custom user input to feel. I think Lord of the Rings is my winner there. I love Simpsons Pinball Party. I've really fallen in love with it recently, and getting to play it in a tourney was really nice because I'd never done that before. But I think I'm going Lord of the Rings here.
Interesting. No, I think those are all valid points. I did see in chat, though, somebody said Toy Story 4 is Joe Katz. So just for the sake of me feeling better about myself, I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. And then it makes my Hobbit choice even more, apparent. But no, I think I totally agree with you. Hadi, Jenga. Okay, got it. Yeah. No, this is good. And then I also see in chat here, people are a little upset that we're going right to left. I'm telling you, hey, if you guys have already made your decision on Lyman, good luck. It's not, you're going to change your mind at least 4 times by the time we get to it. So yeah, good luck. No, Hadi, great explanations. Great explanation. And Revenge from Mars. Maybe let's talk about that real quick. Revenge from Mars. It is Lyman, Dwight, and Keith Johnson have their name on it. Do any of you three have, like, when you think of Revenge from Mars, do you think, oh, that's that person's game? Or chat? I mean, do you feel like that really we should make sure Revenge from Mars is only under one of the designers?
Feels like Lyman.
Yeah, the only association I make to that is Lyman because he's on Attack from Mars as well.
Okay.
So, I mean, I would associate Lyman to it, but I mean, either any of these guys are capable of making a game. So I don't know who the main coder would be on that. I mean, I guess there's no way to find out who the head coder on some of these games are. But
Zach was flipping out. He said that was all hands on deck. I mean, I know when the Pinball 2000 was going on, like it may have really been a group effort there,
right.
Just because they're so. That's fine. We'll leave it in there. We'll leave it in there for now. But interesting. Okay, Mike, I feel like you're gonna give me a curveball here. So.
Well, I am going to give you a curveball,
Okay.
but actually, Keith Johnson was probably one of the harder ones to pick because I think that some of his games are coded very, very well. And if I'm just thinking, well, I mean, Pirates of the Caribbean, that is probably the deepest pinball machine ever made right now. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's the best coded game. I'm not a fan of Pirates of the Caribbean. That would never be on my list. But if I'm really looking at these games, I am breaking it down to 3 games, and that's like Lord of the Rings, Simpsons Pinball Party, and World Poker Tour. Lord of the Rings will be the 3rd on my list, only because for some reason that game just doesn't excite me.
Okay.
The code is great, it's deep, but playing the game doesn't excite me, and the code doesn't do anything to excite me. Simpsons Pinball Party. If I'm picking a game, just a game that I want in my collection, that's going to be the game I pick out of this list. But the game that I think has the best code,
World Poker Tour.
that for me is World Poker Tour. I'm
Oh,
telling
man.
you, just like Hadi said, if you haven't played the game, you
Yeah.
have to try and you have to experience the game. The code is deep. There's lots to do. Getting to the end of the game, the Kiefer Invitational is super
Insane.
hard to do.
Yeah.
It's super hard to do. The upper playfield with the little lock up there and the tiny flipper and everything, and it gives you a little warning. Click, 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 click. Flips the flipper just before it comes down.
Yeah.
Building the poker hands. There's modes that you can play that are associated with different types of poker styles, and then you're building and poker hands with a ton of drop targets. So I really think that the code was utilized really well in that game. It's deep, and I love playing the game. So that is my pick.
Interesting.
So I guess that's a bit of a throwing you for a loop, but Hadi spoiled it a little bit with his
Go ahead,
Sorry,
George.
man.
for the game too. But I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
George, you had some thoughts on that.
Actually, it goes back to Pirates of the Caribbean. You said it's deep. It's so weird because I feel like somebody conceptually went through and created a game that made sense on paper and then forgot to put any soul whatsoever into the rule set of the game. There's no unique modes. Every wizard mode is exactly the same. Like, I understand it's a certain number, like it's a random distribution of what mode you get into based on some. It's like a mathematician's wet dream, but lacks any spirit, lacks any real customization. And then you add to that the fact that they weren't able to get any of like the personable assets of Pirates of the Caribbean, and everything is a reference to like a moment or a CGI character. And and there was I think it's Eric Minier's most amazing, fantastic, best field design, and it is great in so many different ways. That is the most gorgeous game, and I feel like the rules specifically on that one was such a massive letdown.
So I mean, that's a perfect example of a game that has a fantastic layout. Shots are great, feels good, got really innovative things with the pirate ship shooting across. And it's deep. It really is deep.
Yeah.
There is tons of modes, but like you're right. To me, there's no personality to the game. The lack of assets, while not code related, does affect your enjoyment of the code, right? I mean, it's just all.
Well, chat's going nuts here because it's chat's like very much like, oh, are we talking about Hobbit again? And then other people are defending pirates, and other people are agreeing with you. So it's to give straight down the middle a shout out. I mean, when they do the reviews, sure, everything comes out B+, but they have a fun factor, right? And I agree, the code may be good, but is the fun factor there for you in Pirates? And the answer apparently is no. But go ahead, don't let me interrupt.
We're gonna go to Dwight, and I love Dwight's code because in every Dwight game, I can say what my favorite mode is, and there's all the modes are exactly the same in Pirates. Do you have a favorite mode? There's nothing. There's nothing even to point to there. I can't even tell you what a name of a mode is or who's involved in a particular mode.
See, what's interesting, Pinmonk is actually saying he feels that Hobbit has more generic modes. And I personally disagree. When I had a Hobbit, there were definitely modes that it's like, I don't want to play that mode because it's going to do this, this, and this. While there are other modes that were kind of a spectacle. I mean, what Hobbit did with the 11 different drop targets and the fact that each drop target was controllable. I mean, there were times where like a drop target would be moving, like bop, 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 bop. You'd have to hit that. Other times you're focusing entirely on the beast, or you're having to do alternate ramps or hit the middle shot. I personally thought the modes in Hobbit were very unique, but yeah, I've seen you play, Joel. Okay, yes. Apparently they're very similar when you drain every time. Yeah, I'll give you that, Victor. Yeah. Zach, if you want to share your pick, I'll choose whether or not to read it. But that's an interesting category. I mean, when people think of Keith Johnson, though, people think of Simpsons. I think we all gave him a shout out. They think of Lord of the Rings. World Poker Tour, though, is kind of the people don't talk about it until they play it. So I don't. It doesn't surprise me, Hadi and Mike, that you guys gave us some love. But
I mean, yeah. So just to go back on World Poker Tour, everything else about the game is not like the art. The backlash is horrific. I don't know if you've seen
No,
like the guy's hand is like this long on the backlash and whatnot. So unfortunately, that does lower the game on somebody's want list, but definitely up there with the code.
Okay.
It's a sleeper like Ripley's, basically. It's one of those underrated pins that when people finally play it, you look past all the ugly parts of it. Art-wise.
And if you like drop targets,
yeah,
you got to look past it. So Zach here's saying episode 109. So I'm assuming that's the next episode. He's just gonna bring this into his next. That's
your ideas.
No, this was all Mike, man. I'm looking to see what episode just came out, just to see if that's the case. I have them all. Never mind. I'll trust you. All right. So Keith Johnson, great stuff. Let's go with Lonnie Ropp. So this guy. So here's the deal. Initially, when Mike threw this out, we're like, all right, Lyman, Dwight, Johnson. Those three immediately popped into my head. Then I started actually kind of working my way down, and maybe this is going to be. Let's go ahead and pull this back up. But so I was
109 is next, by the way. I just confirmed.
109. Okay, so Zach is going to bring this up. So here I am looking on Pinside. I'm like, well, I'm not going to do Godzilla. I don't want to do Rick Nagel because he only has 5 games. So then Medieval Madness. I'm like, that's Lyman Sheets. Attack from Mars, Lyman Sheet. Rick Nagel. Monster Back, Lyman Sheets. Iron Maiden, Rick Nagel. So I'm like, all right, we'll keep going. Deadpool, Tanyo. Tanya only has one game, I think. Yeah, so I'm like, can't do that. Then I got to Twilight Zone. I was like, who did Twilight Zone? And that was Larry DeMar. So I was like, okay, there's some stuff there. Maybe we'll do that. Pirates, I'm like Johnson. So I keep working my way down, and you can see we see some very similar names here. And it wasn't until I got to Stranger Things did Lonnie Ropp even pop into the game here, which is Stranger Things. And when I pulled up Lonnie Ropp, then I saw he did a gazillion games. I was like, all right, let's actually let's do Lonnie. So just looking at Pinside Top 10 though, maybe I should have included Rick Nagel because all of his games are in this thing. I mean, it's insane. But all right, here we go. So Lonnie Ropp, buckle up. Here we go. We got a lot. Stranger Things, Guardians of the Galaxy, Aerosmith, Kiss, WWE, Mustang, Star Trek. That would be Stern Star Trek. Avengers, the old Avengers Stern, X-Men, Transformers, Tron, Rolling Stones, Iron Man, Big Buck Hunter, NBA, Shrek, which is interesting because somebody else had Family Guy. But anyways, so Shrek, CSI, that's another similar one to that. So here we go. Now we're having the duplicates again. Shrek, CSI, Elvis, Sopranos, Terminator 3, Playboy, Austin Powers, High Roller Casino, Sharky Shooter, Strikers Extreme, Harley Davidson, South Park, Lost in Space, Viper Night Driving, X-Files, Space Jam, Twister, GoldenEye, Apollo 13, Baywatch, Maverick, old Data East GNR, Tommy, Last Action Hero, old Data East Jurassic Park, old Data East Star Wars, Phantom of the Opera, Monday Night Football, Time Machine, Secret Service, Torpedo Alley, and Laser War. Holy crap. Well done, Lonnie Ropp, for being in this industry and doing what you do. Who's Hadi? You get to break the ice with this one, buddy.
I agree with Zach. He says funny because everyone in chat loves at least 5 of these games. Yeah, there are some fun titles on this. Baywatch, Tommy is great. Maverick shooting Lauren Bell target. Awesome. There's a captive ball in the middle of a giant riverboat, which is so much fun because it's part of the modes. It's how you get an extra ball.
Wait, which game is this? Maverick?
That's Maverick. Maverick is
but that
unbelievably fun. We had this for a competition one time. I probably spent more time on Maverick than some of the recently released tables, and it is such a cool sort of theme. It's a great movie. If you haven't seen it, please go watch it. But man, it's got a ton of cool shots, and You can do some subtle stacking there.
Yeah. I was stacking Mr. Jenga over here. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very hard list just because of the sheer quantity. I'm not going to touch on some of the quality of some of these,
Sure.
but code-wise, there's not a lot in my mind, to Torpedo Alley or Monday Night Football. They're fun.
Yeah.
GNR, I think it's a Data East title.
Data East, yeah. Yep.
Super cool collecting the band members. But if I'm going to pick anything on this list, it's just hard because of the number of tables. I think I'm going to go with the consensus most improved player of the last 3 or 4 years, Stranger Things.
Okay.
I think it's going to, and there's a lot of bias because I want to buy one very bad.
Only Ellie.
But I have a lot of fun playing it. Code-wise, I think it got where it needed to be. I wish I had entered this industry a long time ago so I could have seen it at the beginning and maybe had a sort of different opinion.
Yeah.
But between Stranger Things and Star Trek, I think I'm going Stranger Things. Star Trek is a personal love of mine, and I love when George streams it because it's so fun to watch the different
lasers?
sort of it's different approaches to the mode. It's very nice that you can have a one. Here's a stack again, a 1, 2, 3 version of each mode, and you can sort of do like a sort of diagonal. Which direction am I taking my lit modes? Completed modes. So I think I'm going Stranger Things here, though. I think everything about it has really been upgraded to a fun time, to a logical pattern of shots. Yes, it's not the most complex playfield design. It's got an open bottom and complicated top, but the TK lock, just figuring out where you're going to approach how you get to the final mode. If I'm not going to spoil it, just in case anybody hasn't seen Stranger Things. But I think that's my choice.
Yeah. I think it's a solid option. And just a random side comment here, but I was actually listening to the Loser Kid, the most recent Loser Kid podcast, and they had David Thiel, right? They had David Thiel on as a guest. And so he does Jerry Thompson. He had Jerry Thompson on as a guest. And Jerry Thompson does sound packages for Stern Pinball and other games. And they made a comment about working with different people, and he goes, well, yeah, I'm currently working with Lonnie. He said Lonnie and somebody else. So that to me, I mean, Lonnie hasn't had a game since Stranger Things, right? I don't really know what Lonnie's been doing. Lonnie Robb, I don't really know what he's been doing at Stern for the last few years. So he did make a comment about working with Lonnie. Lyman cleaned up Lonnie code several times. I don't know if anybody knows. I don't know what he's been working on, but he did make a comment about it. Does Stern Pinball OS? So maybe he did some insider connect. I don't know, but he did make a comment about working with Lonnie. So it makes me wonder if we do have a Lonnie game coming up sooner than later. So we'll just have to see that. The other person just came back to pinball since earlier years. Interesting. Okay, so we'll see. But all right, Hadi, appreciate it. That's a great comment. Let's go ahead and go to Mike. Mike, what are you thinking?
All right. Well, Stranger Things is definitely not on my list. I'm sorry. I don't have the love for that game. I owned it for a few months and I just couldn't. I don't know. I don't know. But I am going to break down a few things here. For me, it's really between, I really want to own a Baywatch. And it's not because
the
just
cabinet
the
art,
code.
right? Yeah.
I just love the campiness, everything about the game. It's good. That would be high on my list, but for code wise, it's not up there. I'm looking at Kiss. Kiss is a really tough one. That's probably up there. I just like the rules on Kiss. I like the, you finish a song, you get a 2x multiplier for the rest of your ball. Then you can get a 3x if you finish another song during it. I like that sort of risk reward factor there. Star Trek is a great game. I do like Star Trek. Again, another game that I've owned. I like the games where you can start off picking a mode right away. You start right into a mode and just
Guardians?
get right into it and play. So Star Trek, Aerosmith, Guardians, right? Aerosmith is Guardians with Kiss layout. Star Trek is, kind of like a hybrid, sort of similar to that. But yes, you are right, Joel.
Guardians.
Guardians is my
yeah.
pick for sure.
Yeah.
That Guardians might actually be top 5 game for me of all time. I just love playing that game. It's not overly difficult to get through the game. I can get through, Xandar fairly often, but I love experimenting with the multipliers and comboing shots into multipliers. And there's so many ways like you can get shots multiplied, and to me there's huge moments in the game, and those moments are score moments, and I really like the score moments. You can get shots worth billions of points in the game, and it really takes a lot of setup to do that, and I love that about the game. It's not overly difficult, so I can get into a game and just say, okay, I'm going to try and get a huge Quill's Quest 2 jackpot or something like that. And I just really love the aspect of trying to build up these combos and multipliers to get massive, single shots worth huge points.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Guardians, yeah.
It doesn't surprise me because I know the love of Guardians in your household, and I've owned Guardians. I know George, you can talk about it too because George has owned a Guardians as well. The code is super accessible. Like for friends and family, loved it. The Groot shot right up the middle, and maybe that's something that it's a good combination of. It's a friendly layout. It's not necessarily an easy layout, but I would say it's a friendly layout. Good toys, good mechs, but yet the code very accessible for beginners, as well as there's some depth there and some enjoyability from a competitive standpoint.
And like you can start the game with a multi-ball if you want to. Like a lot of people are like, well, these games it's really hard to start a multi-ball, and what do people want to do? They want to get into a multi-ball. You want to get into a multi-ball, you just pick the right mode and you can get right into a multi-ball right away. You don't need to do anything. So yeah, it's got the accessibility. It's got I love the music. I don't even need the Cleveland code. I like the way it is. I think it's a good game. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's a good choice. Doesn't surprise me. That was that was what I expected. So I'm not saying that is a bad thing, but I know how much you enjoy that game.
I love it. I love it.
All right, George. George, I like how much. I'm not saying the other two you don't think your things through, but you can tell George put some brain power into these. So I'm curious to see. I'm the one that asks the question, and I doubt my decision all the way up until I make it, and still doubt it. So George, please, I'm ready to see. Take me on your journey.
I just got rid of Guardians of the Galaxy, and I have to appreciate the fact that it is a great game. And on top of that, like competitively, the rules on it are fairly balanced, right? Like there's the up to 40% total score bonus you can get from finishing Quill's Quest, like Mike just was talking about a minute ago. Like there's a lot you can do in that game for scoring. And on top of that, Joel, like you were saying, it's super accessible.
Yeah.
Right. Like there's a shot up the middle. There's another lit shot over on the right. The ramps are a little on the tougher side in general, and you Borg out on the left. But I mean, that's pinball. And you just set it up a little bit easier, and you've got like the perfect game for a family. Maybe if Toy Story 4 was more mature on its rules and its scoring, those would be like comparisons.
Huh. Okay.
But it's not on my list. I can appreciate it. I like it. And the second I beat Save Xandar, it was out of the house. I'm done with it and don't need it anymore. And so I think competitively Guardians wins it. Like it is a great game for competition. And that just, unfortunately, because I'm not that good of a player, it doesn't interest me. So I go more for the moments, and I feel like Stranger Things nails a lot of those moments. Like it actually getting to the wizard mode and the integration with the scenes, even the first time you get to isolation.
Yeah.
And then you add in what they did in the code with the UV. And going into the upside down, it was nobody, I feel like nobody spoiled the UV kit because it was a month or two before kit came
yeah.
out and nobody was like, did anybody see all the cool stuff on the playfield? I shined a black light on it and there's a whole different set of artwork. Like
Yeah.
it was really cool, but that's not the code. I feel like that did that. Like that to me was more of the game and the lighting and the fact that it was an accessory. So as much as I love Stranger Things, it actually, like, as high as that is on my list, it's not there for the code. But what did do something kind of unique, and it's a bit of a different take, is Star Trek. And this is, I love Star Trek, and Hadi, you pointed out, I love that game. It's one of my favorites, and this is the cool thing that I've never recognized on another game. You could be anywhere in Star Trek and never have a concern about what it is you should be doing. It is the single most intuitively designed rule set ever in pinball. There is, you have a triangle and your goal is to fill up the triangle, and whatever mode you're in, it is a color corresponding set of shots that light and tell you what to do. Now, there is also, add to that, a whole bunch of cool scoring that has to do with like hitting a shot and then hitting the target, and you end up getting it multiplied. And then you can also do some really cool things where you get 3 in a row one way and 3 in the other way by completing one mode, and you end up getting super pops and super ramps. And then you can also time your warp 9.9 to also be with like Kobayashi Maru or 5-year mission, or sorry, Enterprise Amok or something like that, and end up getting double the bonus. There's all kinds of these other things. But what I love is that it's the one game I could set anybody I know in front of, and they would never question what it is they're supposed to do. I dig that. As someone who has worked in web design, there's a book called Don't Make Me Think. And I feel like the rule set that Lonnie, and I don't know if Lyman was involved. For some reason, I feel like Lyman was a part of the code, but and maybe that's not the case at all. But you don't have to think in that game, yet there's still depth, there's progression, and I'm probably never going to get to 5-year mission. So yeah, I think that's got to be my favorite.
Interesting. Yeah, this is these were the 3 that I thought. I thought these 3 would potentially, unless somebody surprised me with like a Baywatch, like you were talking about earlier, Mike.
I do like it,
but these, I mean, there's a lot of love and respect for these 3 codes. Now, what's funny, obviously, is Guardians, when it came out, the code sucked, and Stranger Things code sucked. So props for Lonnie to craft it into good things. David here in chat, Guardians is probably the best all-around practice playing pinball game. Just a good game to practice your skills. Not overly complicated on the surface, but you can take it as deep as you want. Yeah, that's great. I mean, I like, yeah, that's a well said comment. Go ahead, George.
Yeah, same thing. Insanity Falls pointing out that, did George just say that the light show wasn't part of the code? I want to come back, and specifically the UV lights, like just turning on UV lights and lighting the playfield. In that case, I'm saying I'm not going to give that to the code. To me, that's a mod. Obviously, there is code integration, but that was the design and the forethought of Stern putting art on the playfield that wasn't visible until the UV lights turned on. Like when we talk about light shows and knowing, like, Scott Denisi did something in TNA that I feel like hasn't yet been achieved. Maybe American Pinball a little bit, but they did it with tech as opposed to programming, with their 3 different light, like a single light that has 3 different LEDs in it, and they're all RGB. So light shows are obviously a huge part of the code, but in the case of Stranger Things, that's not what I was referencing.
Interesting. Good point. And I will tell you, I think I'm going to have to go Stranger Things, even though you just said all that. Like, the reason I'm going to go Stranger, and I know Mike is sitting here going, I'm talking with a bunch of idiots. But to me, and I think we're going to talk about it more with Dwight, because Dwight's known for his, like, Dwight shows and his moments. He's a moment maker. Everybody, that's what Dwight is known for. Like, Dwight's code is not known for, like, in-depth scoring. Well, maybe some, but it's just like, that's why Dwight code is either liked or not liked, because of that's his focus. So if I apply that same concept, yes, I will tell you there were moments when I had a Stranger Things, there were moments that you got to certain wizard modes and whatnot that really drew me in and felt like a moment. Not to mention the projector. Like, I didn't even have a premium, but like what he had to code in for the visual, like, I'm giving him credit for visuals though as well, because I feel like you have to build that in, right? Like that has to be thought into what's going to be displayed on the different targets and the different like. I'm assuming that's the coder's responsibility. Maybe I'm giving too much credit or maybe that's the LCD team that's doing everything in the projector. But to me, I don't know. I think I personally would probably be between Guardians and Stranger Things, and if I'm going to throw some personal bias onto it as well, I'm going to personally go Stranger Things. I really enjoy that game. So go ahead, George.
Stranger Things that you were pointing out there is that with the projector, it's projection mapping.
Yeah.
It's not just presenting a projector and an image in one place. Actually, there's interaction between the ball doing certain things and changing what's happening at different points in the play field, and then also programming in angle, like on the picture. There's a decent amount of work there that really makes me kind of go back to Stranger Things. I think you made a really good point.
Yeah. No, you can't. You're not allowed to change your answer, George. You can't do it. It's locked in forever.
Even hardcore into Star Trek.
I mean, if anybody's going to change your answer, it's probably Mike. He's probably needs to apologize because Stranger Things.
Yeah,
is
no. You know what? I completely get the love for Stranger Things. I absolutely do, but it's just not a game that resonated with me. I think that like the whole '80s vibe and the nostalgia was really, really big in that game for me, but it never really resonated with me.
Yeah, that's fine, Mike. You be you, man.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
No. So at this point, we're gonna take a break. No, just we're approaching 12. These discussions are always fun. So thank you guys for staying here and chat. I hope you're enjoying yourself. We're trying to do our best to try to get both chats going here or watch them. But unless this is the Rick Nagel argument of the designer told me to do it, so it doesn't count on this. No, I agree. I think we're gonna give Lonnie some credit here for having some of these thoughts on his own for sure. There's a reason Stranger Things is really expensive on the secondary market. Yeah, there's a lot of love that's come to Stranger Things. Yeah. And it's yeah, I know, and that's why Hadi cries every night because he can't get one yet. All right, let's do Dwight. These are hard. I know Lane Bryant here is he's ready to go with. He has some thoughts on Dwight, but I can't wait if Zach's doing episode 109 on this topic. I can't wait to hear Zach talk his way through Dwight Sullivan. So, I don't. Do the three of you? I don't want to force it. Does anyone? Is this a clear answer for any of you? Does any one of you three want to go first?
You go, Joel.
Yeah. No, I did not want to go. I definitely did not want to go. I will say I am so ready to be told my answer on this one because I struggle. I agree with George a lot. I am not, what's cool. This is an interesting dynamic because Hadi and Mike are both very competitive focused. They like the stacking. They like the points. I'll tell you right now, the whole time I owned Guardians, I never once cared about a point that I scored. Now, until I decided billion, like I wanted to hit a 1 billion point threshold, then I cared a little bit, but I've always cared about progression. And so this is tough. I think, I will tell you, like Mando Code is a lot of fun. There's some really good moments in that. There's some really good progression there. Turtles, I really have enjoyed Turtles Code. There's a lot to do in that game, not to mention like heads up. I know the half shell challenge is its own code that I freaking love. That speed mode is really good. Star Wars Code, there's a lot of love there that I just don't have any experience with. So I struggle, but I think the right answer is Game of Thrones. And it's not because I haven't owned Game of Thrones. I actually don't have a ton of experience on Game of Thrones, but I know between the different houses, the different options, every house drastically changes things, I think is huge. I'm thinking Game of Thrones is the right answer for, there's a lot of people that say Dwight Sullivan, like his masterpiece was Game of Thrones. So I think I'm going to say Game of Thrones is the right answer. Now, me personally, I still own Turtles and I love Turtles. So I want like Half Shell Challenge definitely gets a lot of love for me on that. So if somebody else wants to say Turtles, that would make me feel really good. But I'm going to say Game of Thrones. We're gonna go now to Mike, who's definitely not gonna say turtles.
No, I'm not going to say
Yeah.
turtles.
Wait, time out. Sorry. Let me read these, by the way, for the people walking. So real quick, Dwight Sullivan, he did Mando, Turtles, Star Wars, Munsters, Ghostbusters, Game of Thrones, Family Guy, Pirates of the Caribbean, Stern, World Poker Tour. So these are the weird ones because World Poker Tour is also on Keith, but World Poker Tour, Sopranos, Elvis, T3, Playboy, High Rollers, Casino, Sharker Shootout, Revenge from Mars, Champions Pub. I know it's definitely a Dwight game. Junkyard, Whodunit, No Fear, Roadshow, Star Wars: The Next Generation, Getaway, Terminator 2, Bugs Bunny. That's the right answer, and Riverboat Gambler, which is Lane's answer. Oh yeah, so here we already know that. So there we go. So sorry, Mike. Let me now that I've read those, go for it.
All good.
Yep.
Bugs Bunny gets vote for one of the worst games on Pinside. If you look it up, it's actually probably one of the bottom 10 games.
Yeah.
Riverboat Gambler gets the award for most lockdown bar buttons. But in of these 5 designers, actually, and this is not going to be a popular opinion, Dwight is my least favorite.
Yeah.
I get the moments, I get it, but for me, looking at the list, the only games that I'm looking at here are Mando, Game of Thrones, I guess World Poker Tour, but I've already picked that, and Family Guy. But that's, I like you, Joel, and that's why I'm going to pick Game of Thrones.
Well, okay.
Game of Thrones
All
is
right.
definite to me.
Is he cutting out for everybody or just me?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mike, you're giving a really good explanation, but you just cut out. You got way too excited. No, I can't hear you anymore. Oh no.
I think he changed his mind to Bugs Bunny when he was talking.
That's what I heard. Turtles? As you said turtles, Mike? That's what I heard? His internet is too excited.
And that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah. I can't hear you, Mike. No, I'm so sorry. He's going, what the heck? Oh, there it is. We're good.
back.
We're good. You're
You can
back.
hear me? Okay,
I
good.
can hear you. Yeah.
All right. So yes, I think Game of Thrones is far and above his best coded game. It was good before he changed the code, and then he updated the code again and added more features to the houses, added an additional house. It's got moments both scoring wise and sort of feature wise, or the video, or whatever you would call the DMD screen. I love the multipliers on the shots. I love how different the modes are, the different features each house has. There's a mini wizard mode that you can get to fairly frequently, but when you that mini wizard mode isn't just you get to the mini wizard mode, this is what you do. When you get to the mini wizard mode, it does something different depending on which 4 houses you've completed to get there. So to me, there's a lot of depth in the code, and then you go further, finish the houses, and get to the end. And that final wizard mode is a marathon, trying to get all the castles and everything. You can just like Guardians, you can build up shots worth billions of points in this game too. So that's something I really like. But I also think that there's Dwight moments in Game of Thrones too. So I got to give it to Game of Thrones.
Cell processing, you just got here. Thanks for being here. What we're doing is we picked 5 coders, and so I listed out all the games that each coder made, and the idea is, which game do you feel is their best coded game? That's the way we're playing this. So I will tell you, Mike, I was tempted because you said Game of Thrones. Part of me really wants to select Turtles just so it's not left off the board, but I'm gonna hold firm. I'm gonna hold firm. So, all right, George, you've had a lot of these games. So I'm very curious to hear your thoughts here, because you're the moments guy. You're with me. So let's see.
So Dwight is by far, I should say, has the most games that are highest on my list, and this was kind of tough. I got to throw a shout out to Champion Pub. I think it has nothing to do with the code and everything to do with just all of the crazy cool mechanics and ways in that game, and that's fun. But to me, it comes down to either Game of Thrones, Ghostbusters, or Mandalorian, and I'm going to go an interesting direction on this one. I think Game of Thrones offers up, for all the reasons you guys just said, some of the best in coding, and the reason I pull it off the list is because it's the biggest letdown of pretty much any game I've ever experienced.
The wizard mode, yeah.
When you beat it, you beat the game, and the only reason that you beat the game is that the game subtly shifts into victory laps in the wizard mode. And for a game that seemed to celebrate you at so many different points when you made it to certain things, like when you handed the king, and then when you get to the Iron Throne, and there's so many really cool moments with multi-balls to just have it like I have I got to victory laps with all of the different houses, I think, except Terrell. And it was like the first 3 of them was like, am I there? Did I do it? Did I make it? Am I at the point? And like Los had to come in and
tell
me a couple of pointers and tell me what it was. And it was you when you get 2 jackpots in a row and you see that it says victory laps at some point on there. And even after the second code update, the fact that the flippers don't die, or it's not some sort of a massive celebration that just makes you feel like you did it. That's why it's not Game of Thrones. Even though Game of Thrones is fantastic. In the same way that Mandalorian had a real opportunity, I feel like, to do some really, really cool things. And I actually really love that game. And I think that's next and highest to come back into my collection, because the mini wizard modes in Mandalorian are so fun. I love the multiple phases. I love the integration with the show, and the fact that what you're doing in each one of those, it's obvious that Dwight either became a fan or was a fan and spent a majority of his creative efforts into those modes. And you can see that with Hunter and Scope. There's other cool modes in the game. The problem is that the actual modes, like the scenes, the yellow ones, are random in assignment, and none of them are unique in any respect. So it's like another, like, here's a little bit of what I can't stand about Pirates of the Caribbean and like the primary portion of Mandalorian. So it's not that. So it's crazy, but I feel like I got to go Ghostbusters.
Interesting. Okay.
The theme integration is fantastic. There are so many memorable modes in that game. Like, think about it. You have to. There's 3 shots for. Okay, who let the dog? Who caught the dog?
Who let out the dog or something?
The dog's out.
Yeah, let the dog's out. Yeah. But then the second mode in that chain, and there's 3 different chains, is you have to hit the left ramp, and then you have to recapture each of the 4 people who fell into the street. And then after that, it's Gozer, and you build things up, and then you have to hit Gozer. And it's so beautiful when you hit that shot and you collect. And then you finally get to the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. And it's like, it actually builds it up. And that's really cool. And then there's the Slimer modes on the left ramp when you're in the ballroom and he's moving around on the screen. At the same time, you've got to hit that. You got to hit the appropriate shots, and then the librarian and all of that. And then you finally get to maybe one of the coolest wizard modes in Pinball, in my opinion, with
Are You a God?
God.
Yeah.
Which is so cool. And so talking about moments, it hits it on levels, despite the fact that I know it's not the greatest for competitive pinball, because I think it's basically just going for that 450 million proton pack thing, unless something changed in a rule set. It seemed like the easiest way to crack 1 billion on that with minimal chance of draining out. It was really easy to do that a few times. It creates all of those moments, and I feel rewarded, especially when I get into that final wizard mode. So I got to go Ghostbusters.
So you've had both a Ghostbusters Premium and a Pro in your collection,
Correct.
right? And
yes.
So why do you want one back, or why did it leave?
No, it's also, sorry, I have in my notes here, most fun and most frustrating and most likely to be sold in a fit of rage.
Well, first
it's
off,
that flipper gap.
yeah.
It's that big flipper gap in between it. That really ruined the game for me. I owned one as well, and I think I only owned it for like 2 months. And if the layout was not the layout, if just the flipper gap was fixed, I think that game, I could have probably seen myself possibly picking that game with just a little bit of playfield tweaks.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
It's a shame that one, I mean, it's a very critical mechanical part of the game, but no, Ghostbusters is definitely a game I would love to like Ghostbusters and Star Wars are two games that I would love to have in the basement for like a month or two, just because I want to give them a chance. Like I want to see this because there's a lot of love and respect for those games. But when you play them on location, they just eat you alive. So well done, George. First off, thank you for taking notes or having notes. I mean, it's more than I did, that's for sure. So thank you, George. All right, Hadi. Let's see what we got here, man. I'm curious to see what your thoughts are.
Let me tell you a tale about Riverboat Gambler. No, I'm just kidding. No, I think if I'm looking at this list, a lot of what my thoughts have been said. I think I'm going between Game of Thrones and Champions Pub. I
Really?
think
Okay.
Yeah, and I think the mechanics in Champions Pub led themselves to bringing back more players because of the amount. I guess the amount of I don't want to include mechs as part of. I mean, but you need code to move those mechs. But you've got a punching bag up top. You've got a jump rope on the left-hand
Yeah.
side. You've got a giant guy that turns around, and then you've got sort of a Nintendo Punch-Out style progression, which is entertaining and fun, and it gives you that sort of, hey, this is maybe I just need one more chance, and it's got the little up post on
Yep,
between the
the ball
flippers
save, yeah.
during your fights, and all that takes a lot of genius work to make it all work together to come into a package that is fun, inviting, and also sort of challenging at times. I don't know where Champions Pub stands on a list of most difficult pins to get to the end, but if I'm going to choose, I'm going to choose Game of Thrones.
Okay.
It's because of all
Yeah.
all the reasons that you guys have said already. I think if I had to choose a classic, Dwight, it's going to be Champions Pub, but I think I'm going Game of Thrones with you. I got some really in-depth time with it recently, and there was not a moment that I didn't enjoy as I learned the code and as I learned how to play it. And I was playing the pro version, so I just had a good time, and I'm assuming there's going to be a lot more fun to be had on the upper left play field. I think that's what's been added on the premium NLEs, if I'm not mistaken. But Game of Thrones,
Yeah.
picking your houses, getting different powers, that's me all day.
Dude, that's awesome. Yeah. No, yeah. This is good. These are really good answers. But I think this is I think a lot of people, there's a lot of respect for Game of Thrones just in general by the pinball community of that kind of being his masterpiece. So
Lane
that
wants
doesn't
us to
surprise
sing the song of Riverboat Gambler.
me. Oh, I thought he wanted Game of Thrones song. Dun 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 dun. No. Sorry, Lane. No. All right, here we go. Freaking Lyman sheets, man. I'm not going first. So I'm not going first. Does anybody between the three of you have like a definitive answer? You ready to go? Locked and loaded.
I have a definitive answer. I
Oh,
think
Mike
that
is going
best
first.
code.
Mike is going
But
first.
I don't need to go first.
No,
Anyone else can go first, but
please, Mike. Oh wait,
okay.
let me interrupt you again. Let me read them out.
Yeah,
So here we go.
right.
Lyman sheets, the one, the only. Elvira, House of Horrors, Medieval Madness, AC/DC, Attack from Mars, Batman 66, Spider-Man, Walking Dead, Iron Man, Metallica, Tron, Rolling Stones, Avatar, Big Buck Hunter, and then NBA 24, CSI, Batman: The Dark Knight, Sopranos, Revenge from Mars, Monster Bash, Maverick, Royal Rumble, Tommy Pinball, Last Action Hero. So here we go. Mike, let's go for it.
All right. Well, he has a very good resume of games, I will say that, and they are all fantastic. Out of all these designers, I would probably own more Lyman games than any of these other designers. So I will say that ahead of my pick. Elvira House of Horrors is the game on the list that I want most now, but it doesn't really have anything. It doesn't only have to do with code. It has to do with the theme and the layout and the shots and stuff. I'm not a fan of Medieval Madness. I know Medieval Madness is on top of a lot of people's list. I prefer Attack from Mars. I think the game is fantastic. the code on that that is probably top 3 on the Lyman list for me. But to me, far and above is Walking Dead. Walking Dead to me is his masterpiece. Lyman Sheets, I feel, made a name for himself with the Walking Dead code. Like he's been a household name for years, but to me, that's his definitive game. It's such a unique rule set. There are tons of there's a number of different wizard modes. There's unique modes, collecting 100 zombies, the weapons, the modes on the drop targets, the different multi-balls, the integration with the LCD, I guess the DMD screen. I mean, the layout, isn't spectacular by any means. It's an average layout, but he just killed it with the code on that game. I've owned one, and I will definitely own another one. And I just think it's his masterpiece.
Yes.
There's nothing more I can say.
No,
it's
that's
I
all
think
well
it's his
spoken.
masterpiece. Yeah.
I know there like Walking Dead will never be in my collection, and the reason solely because of the art. Like I just can't.
Yeah. See, the art is probably the weakest part of that game. I mean, unfortunately for the game, but if you can overlook the art, it's just an incredible game.
And I think we've said this before, even on this stream, many times, the After Hours show, that if they ever did a vault of that and they redid the art with some other, somebody else to do something maybe more comic booky or cartoony, like I think that there would be so many people that would buy that game. So many people. Jedi Gill, where's Keith on this list? These are the coders. These are the coders. So we only picked 5. No, very, very, very good points. Very, very good points, Mike. Your son was in chat there, Coach Carter, and he said you were going to say either Metallica or Walking Dead. So, all right, George, I'm ready, man. What are your thoughts?
So this is the one I feel like my opinion weighs so little. Lyman is up there. Yeah, he's at God status on code, and it's for a lot of it. I think has to do with how well balanced and how amazing things are on the competitive side. So I feel like when I weigh in on Lyman, it's like trying to compare all of Dwight's games from a competitive aspect. It's not. It doesn't match up in some ways. So I'm going to take a stab, but realize I feel like my opinion weighs very little on this. And Elvira is the game that I want in-house most, but I can't because I don't want a character who both I appreciate and really enjoy, but is super sexualized when I have a 9-year-old daughter. So I don't want that in the house. But it's the one that I actually really enjoy playing when I go on location. And it's the game I feel like I have. I mean, there's a ton of games there that I don't know the rules of, but it's the one I'm most interested in figuring out. I think Batman 66 is the first time I was ever introduced to the idea of like scoring depth and placement at such a heady, like it required a significant amount of forethought and requires a lot of intelligence to play it and get those multipliers set up right. And on top of that, you can situationally play it a little bit differently, which I really, really appreciate. But overall, I don't know that anything he has in his list can be beat by Walking Dead. I gotta agree with Mike. Like Walking Dead, I can't stand the artwork. I had it in house and I covered it with a sheet anytime I wasn't using it because my daughter saw it once. She pulled the sheet off and got scared and then had nightmares. It's awful. Yeah. It's disgusting artwork. It's bad. And despite that, there's a lot there and I'd love to have it in-house again, but I'm going to have to wait until hopefully they vault it and go cartoon or go comic. And in that case, I think it's going to be great. Or my kid gets old enough and, buy it in another 4 or 5 years. But I think there's a lot there. And that game is just fantastic from the ground up.
Yeah. Yeah. Really good points, George. Yeah, really good points. All right, Hadi. What are we thinking, man?
It took me a while to get to this, but if I had to say one thing about Lyman's list, is he is the master, it seems like, of theme integration
Mhm.
with his coding, and then utilizing everyone's efforts. You take a look at Elvira, one of the best integrated themes on a pin. You look at Attack from Mars. It's another, you're talking aliens from space, and everything makes sense. Even the cows coming into play. Spider-Man, just amazing. And then Batman 66, a great callback to the campiness of that era, and it makes you feel like you're in that era. So I am going to take this from the approach of something George touched upon, something that makes me, the code that can make me a better player is the code that I'll gravitate towards. So I initially thought Attack from Mars because that is one of the first pins where I started to learn about, okay, if you start this mode, then this will help, that will help this mode. And then you can sort of combo it with going after the spaceship. But I think Batman 66 is my choice. The amount of thought you put into mastering his attempt at getting you to be a better player with his code is sublime. Going after Commissioner Gordon, maybe stacking that with the 2x on the left orbit once you pick your mode, starting Penguin, going for a minor wizard mode, giving you TV villains to affect how you play the major villains is unreal. And you can sit there and try to backhand the Commissioner Gordon shot to then add a multiplier to one of your other normal shots. So if you put that on the scoop, you've got a 2x possibly there. Combine it with the 2x on your left orbit shot from starting a mode. Plus, maybe you get the Batcave 2x as well, or 3x. And the amount of math that you have to do for that is unreal. So you could be dead in the water and out on your ball 3 have 100 million points. And then out of nowhere, you finish stage 4 of Penguin and you've got 2 billion. And it's a beautiful ballet of figuring out how to combo your strategy with the available shots. So I think this is the best list for me. I can't believe I can't believe one man sort of
Yeah.
came up with this. And so if I have to do anything, it's Batman 66 with a nod to Attack from Mars. And then there's nothing bad. I didn't have enough time on Walking Dead until recently, and it is. I found myself playing the virtual version for at least 5 hours when I came home. It's just so fun.
Yeah, you look at this, and I mean, there's like no duds. Like he
No.
only got better. What up, George?
I know we're running late, but I want to ask a question of Hadi specifically about his Batman 66 pick. Is it okay if I digress?
Yeah. No.
So
No questions. No questions.
you've got Avengers, and I feel like Avengers is the other game that's really heady and requires so much forethought and where you place and do things. I wonder, which do you prefer between Avengers and Batman 66?
I'd have to give it to Elwyn on Avengers only because I think he's come up with the shots on the code that make more sense, that sort of line up with the code. There was a pin we were talking about where I feel like I forgot. I wish I could remember because I was going to say those shots make the most sense to go with the code that comes with it. And I think if I'm talking Elwyn, who I just think is the best right now, and if I'm looking at him compared to Lyman, I think they get it as far as theme integration, code integration, and then combining where the shots should go. But mathematically, Batman 66 is more challenging and more fun to sort of get. However, Avengers has the better code for me because the placement of the gems and how you're going to sort of approach, okay, I know I've got Soul Gem mode coming up, and then I also need to make sure that I'm thinking about my Iron Man multi-ball, which can help me get through Space Gem. And then all that sort of works well together with the theme. But if I'm talking straight math, it's Batman. Batman's math makes more sense to me and more fun. It's more fun. But I would pick Avengers overall code. But if we're talking just the strategy portion, mathematically, I'm going Batman 66.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, that's a lot of thought
No
there,
more
Hadi.
questions.
Yeah. No, and you said you were a lawyer because you hate math, but yet.
Yeah, I know, which is crazy to me now. Maybe I took the wrong path.
This is a tough category. I think. I mean, all these categories have been tough, but I know when I'm thinking personally, I think it's very clear that Lyman was a competitive player, so he did absolutely the best he could to make sure his games were balanced and made sense and had different ways to attack it and different options. And he was constantly working on that and making sure that his games were balanced. So I think I agree. I think I've heard a lot of people say that Walking Dead is his masterpiece. I just don't have much experience on it. I will tell you, I watched a lot of streams of Batman 66. I think that is a game that I would personally be drawn to. And I think I would enjoy because of all the different directions that you can head. But believe it or not, the answer that I'm going to say, and there's some people in chat that may disagree with me, but I really like Metallica. Like, I really like Metallica. Now, Metallica is wood choppy. I will give you that. But there's something very unique about the code. The risk-reward factor of that game is incredible. And I really enjoy the idea that when you step up to it, there's so many different paths you can go, and they all make sense. And they all build towards, do I want to get my shots figured out here? Do I want to collect that so that it makes it easier to get to this wizard mode? And what do I want to do? There's a lot of thought there, a lot of thinking. But like, people really like GNR right now because of the risk reward. They really like that aspect of it. Or now, like in Godzilla, there's moments in Godzilla where risk reward, risk reward. But like Metallica did it. I don't know if they did it first, but they did it really well. So
Yeah.
I don't know, Mike. I need your support on this one.
Yeah, you got my support on that one too. Like, Metallica is probably number 2 on my list because they did risk reward correctly.
Yeah.
When you start your crank it up and you're building up your points for your song, you can collect the value that you've built up by hitting the scoop, but you're also getting those points as well. So you're getting the points and then you can collect the value again in the scoop. So you're not, if you drain, you're not like, well, there goes everything I worked for, right? You're getting still something from it. So that's the perfect risk reward for me.
Yeah. I agree with you. That was my biggest frustration with GNR. It did make when you actually collected it, though, it did make that moment so much more enjoyable. But man, I drained a whole lot more than I collected. That's for sure. So I don't know. Metallica may be a tough or an interesting choice. I mean, immediately people spoke up, chop that wood. So Wax, first time chatter, it was enough for him to type in, so I get it. But I do think, I mean, it may be between Walking Dead and Batman 66. There's like Stephen Bowden, really respected person in pinball, thinks Spider-Man's code is like untouchable. But the reality is Attack from Mars, there's so many people that believe that's like probably the greatest game ever made. There's a lot here. So Joel's Tomb, he drained a lot more than he collected. 100%. You know it. Victor, you watched me do almost all of that. So but yeah, so hey, this was another really fun one. What I do think is interesting here is if we compare designers, there's a lot of games on here that were somewhat similar. Did Hadi drop out?
Hadi dropped.
He didn't like your Metallica. He did not like your Metallica.
Done. Yeah, which is going to make this next. This is going to be really odd. Yeah, that's going to look weird. I can move you over, Mike, but I'm curious if Hadi's going to.
Which way do I go? I go this way. Wait.
There we go. There we go. We can kind of get that one better. Oh, we're talking about 5 designers. Hey, we were kind of Hey, I mean, nothing. There's no better way to end this than to have a technical problem, right? So. I do not think the raid's going to happen at all. I have no idea if we're not going to get. I mean, I'm going to try it, but we're going to see here. So, that's about all I have tonight. Chat, thanks for bearing with us with all the technical issues. We tried our best to read chat, both Twitch and everything else. So, LOL. Yeah, Mike's halfway. Thank you, Mike. I mean, I can move it, but the moment I move it, Hadi's going to show back up. Right? I mean, that's just how that's going to work, right? So, here he's back. I heard a beep. Let's see if he's there. Okay.
Sorry.
See, I was about to move it.
Sorry.
All right. So, hopefully that was a good conversation for Chad. Hopefully everybody enjoyed that. Let's go around real quick, do some quick plugs. So, Mike, plug away, man, and we'll see what we do next year.
Yeah, well, you can check me out at Pinballers on Twitch Monday and Friday afternoons, and on TPN in the evenings with my family on Tasty Tuesdays. And we've got some tournament stuff we're streaming here and there coming up in the near future as well. So definitely check us out. You can check us out on Facebook and Instagram as well. And that's it.
Cool. Hadi, go for it, man.
Hey, I'm Frisco Pinball. You can catch me Monday nights on TPN, twitch.tv/Pinball Network, 10 p.m. Central. And then on my own channel, Frisco Pinball, we do virtual and physical pinball. Usually, I'm usually streaming at least 4 or 5 times a week, about 11 p.m. Central. Biggest things we have are interviews with different creators in the virtual community and soon to be tournament players. So you can catch that on Tuesday. It's called Tuesday Night Tributes. And then Wizard Mode Wednesday is another fun one where we try to beat a table. And so that's a good time. Hope to see you there.
You know, I think I do Wizard Mode Wednesday as well. I don't think we've ever done it, though. So I'm trying. I mean, I could call it that. It sounds ambitious, but Watch Me Drain Wednesday would probably be better. Or, watch the first mode over and over again Wednesday. That has a good bell ring to it. George, could you do me a favor? Did you, for your notes, were they digital or did you handwrite them?
They're digital. They're in a notepad.
Oh, I wanted to see the novel of notes that you had for tonight. I was hoping you could hold it up, but George, go ahead and plug away, man.
My name is George. I stream on Don't Panic Flip Monday and Tuesday. I stream on TPN on Thursday evenings. It's always late at night. Not the greatest pinball, but hopefully enjoyable conversation. We do social Mondays. I just pinball on Tuesdays, and then often try to bring some people in to play with us on Thursdays on TPN. Got a local collection, and hoping to get back out on location a little bit more in the near future here. Just got the mobile rig set up, still trying to dial in a lot of the technical issues around that, but just about there. Lots of help with the community and TPN in general. So
nice.
Yeah, that's fine me.
Don't forget your iron pinball battles.
Oh yeah,
iron pinball battles. Yeah,
those are iron pinball. If you guys haven't seen George before, Don't Panic Flip, check out some of those on his YouTube channel because those were a lot of fun. Yeah. Even when I lost, it was it was a lot of fun. But thank you, George. Thank you, George, for being here. And then my name is Joel. I do the Flippin' Out stream every Wednesday, and then I will be streaming tomorrow night on the Flippin' Out Twitch channel. We'll be playing some Toy Story 4. My brother's in town, so he's actually going to be streaming with me, which should be a good time. And then I do the Triple Drain Pinball podcast on the TPN network with Tom and Travis. So, Oh, and then Zach and I streamed on the Flippin' Out channel 2 weeks ago on Toy Story, and that's on YouTube. So if you want to see that stream and see Zach crush a wizard mode, go for it. David, thanks for being here in chat, man. Great stream tonight, guys. These roundtables are great to mix it up from watching regular game play streams. Yeah, I think so. They're a lot of fun. I'm glad we do them. So yeah, every other Wednesday we try to do one of these. Hopefully we can get the chat thing figured out. I say I mean George. And
I'm hoping it just fixes itself, and the next person to stream, it's just resolved.
Yeah, well, the next person to stream on TPN is going to be you, so we'll see. Probably. We'll see how it goes. But appreciate all the support, guys. Let's see if this raid. I'm going to go ahead and raid Colorado Pinball. They're good people. Let's see if this actually happens. If it does, we're going to have an awkward, roughly 45 seconds to see if the raid. I don't know if anybody on Twitch is the raid going through. It's not. Okay, so never mind. We are not going to raid. I think this is the first time in my pinball streaming career I did not raid somebody, and it feels weird. So everybody just go watch Colorado.
Watch somebody else.
Yeah, go watch Colorado or go say, hey, we came for this. Go have a good time. So we're going to wrap it up, everybody. Appreciate all the viewers. Thanks a bunch. And if you're watching this on YouTube, every other Wednesday at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time is when we stream it. So everybody have a great night.